Hi, it's Jake. I'm coming to you from my studio. Today I'm going to start this dresser project. We will go from beginning to end. It was originally painted the white shiny paint and it was all dinged up. This piece has definitely seen better days. It did come without that bottom drawer and I went ahead and picked it up anyway because I do like it. I think baskets or even folded up blankets, throws, any number of things could go under there and still serve a purpose and look nice. So this was one of those pieces that I just really looked at and I loved its bones. And once it got sanded down, I even fell more in love. So it has one nice center drawer here, and then it has two smaller drawers on each side. So it already has a nice, interesting look to it. And then you take away that bottom drawer. This is going to be a piece that can go into a living room, a dining room, a bedroom, any number of places, and it's going to look good. You could even put the casters on it, raise it up a little bit, and turn it into a pretty nifty kitchen island. Maybe that would be a good place for cookbooks or extra pans and pots, you know, just however you see fit. So we're going to get started, and in this session we are going to work on the top. And I have decided that I'm at least going to do a stain on the top, and then I'll decide on the bottom what I'm going to do. I'm kind of leaning towards an off-white or maybe a green or a combo of the two, but I don't know, so I figure I'll do with the brown and get it started from there. Since it has been sanded, I will still prep, but before I even do that, I will take one of my dusting brushes. I label everything just because that way then if I have Mike or Barrick here in the shop and they want to do a project and they're looking for a brush, they know which ones not to use or to use. So this has been sanded down. I'm just going to brush it off real quick. It's been wiped down, but you never know. Just that little extra dusting gets into those nooks a little bit better than a rag would, and I'm good to go. So I keep a tin, separate tin, and it's labeled dusting brushes, so that way then if they need one, they can get one from there. Now, today I'm going to try something different that I have not done before. I've seen it on a lot of the Rethunk Junk pages, and I've seen the creator, Laura Whitlow, and her husband discuss this, where they add a little bit of the semi-sweet dark brown chocolate paint to their stain to make it a little bit darker. And I think I'd like to try that today. So I have an old jar of stain that's just about empty. I mean, there's just a little bit of residual wetness in there, and another jar of the dark walnut, and then my semi-sweet. So when I open my jar here, and I always just put a screwdriver right up under and twist just a little bit on the 15-minute marks. I want to make sure this is really well mixed and stirred. And all I am going to do, really make sure it's stirred up well in here. I'm going to pour some of the stain directly into that old stain jar. And if I end up having any left, I'll make sure that I label it so I know that it's automatically darker. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of this into there. Now this is where I'm bad. I'm not measuring. And so you guys will probably want to know what my measurements were, and I won't be able to tell you. But it looks like it's about a third of my jar, to right about there. And I'm going to add, this is a nice warm chocolate color, and this is a ½ teaspoon. I'm going to add You know what? We'll do a full teaspoon of this paint in with 1/3 of a jar of stain. So again, I did about 1/3 of a jar and a teaspoon of paint. So now I'm not worried about that little bit of stain there. I'm gonna shake it really well. While I shake it, I'm gonna get out my stain brush. Again, I keep different bins, and this says RTJ stain. So this is my stain brush that I like to use. And that's one of the nice things about working with this products is for your stain, you can reuse your brush. It easily washes out with soap and water as it is all water-based. Whereas when you use a traditional stain like a Minwax, you cannot wash it. It's oil-based, and if you've tried, it's just a mess. So you usually use a junkie or a rag or something like that. This, you could use a rag. You can wipe back with a rag. You can use it just like you would any other stain. Now you can see this is and that is with the paint, without the paint added. So you can see there is a difference. And I'm going to just brush it on. Real quick. And just like when I'm painting, I don't start right at the edge so I don't get those drips, and I will still come back with one full line pass going in one direction. I just prefer that myself, and it's a good habit to be in. That way then you just get in the habit of doing it all the time. And you can see, like I said, by starting my paint or stain in this case further away from the edge, I don't get a big running down the edge. And I can see a difference in the tone already of the paint added to the stain. And I don't know if you can see really the texture that is coming out from the wood in this. Let me see if I can bring it down just a little bit more to see that design coming out of there. And I'm okay with all of the dings and marks that are there that did not come out completely. I'm also okay with all the matched screws and nails that are in here. I'm one of those people that I think it just adds to the character. It tells you a little bit more about the life that it has led. And all the more reason for us rescuing it, preserving it, giving it a whole nother life. So again, I don't know what color I'm going to do the base yet. I'll wait and see how this really looks, and hopefully it will tell me, or maybe I'll put it to you, the viewers, again on what do you think I should do. You guys had some really good suggestions for the green piece that I finished last week, which unfortunately, due to technology difficulties, me not being tech savvy, I lost those videos before I was able to get them posted. So this is one coat of the mix. I'm going to move you and bring you in a little bit closer for you to see that a little bit better. Maybe from this angle. So we're going to let that dry, and we'll come back and we will give it a second coat. So I'm back, and the top now has 2 full coats. I have not done a top coat or anything yet to it. That's just the natural sheen that comes with the stain top mixed with a little bit of extra resin paint. And also, while you guys were away, I did the first coat of this shelf. I decided I'm going to go ahead and do the stain because I was so happy with the way it looked. So I mixed up another batch of about a third jar of stain with the tablespoon of paint, and just for the ease of reaching to the back, I'm using a foam roller, and I'm just using a little paper plate. I put a little bit of my stain mixture on here, and I just rolled it on. Now for my second coat, I'm going to be a little bit more conscientious of making sure I do everything in the same direction, follow up, just like I would with the brush. And this just extends my reach and makes it easier for me. I'm going to end up doing the sides and the back in the paint color, which I do believe I have my idea and what I'm going to do. I am going to go, I think, really distressed, shabby, old school. Going back to my Annie Sloan original painting days, where you paint one color as a base for the bottom and then do your other color on top. And so that way then when you distress, the bottom color peeks through. So I've pretty much decided that's what I'm going to do. And my big question is, I know I'm going to base coat everything in oyster. And then one of the greens will be my top coat. And so I'm actually thinking I am leaning towards Timeless Teal. That's been a popular one between you guys. It seems like it's pretty even, but early on, Timeless Teal seemed to get the most votes early on. So we will see. So that's how easy it is with the roller. It does go very quick. And you can do the stain even with a roller. So I'm just going to make sure every last stroke is going in the up direction, just as if I were brushing it. So there we go. There's that. And that just took me about 3 minutes. Now, what am I rolling around on? If you've never done this or had one, these are great in the automotive world when they're working on vehicles. This makes it really nice to get around your piece. The other thing you might notice that I've added are these bed risers. I like those for when I'm not going to bring it all the way on up to a table. And for me, this will be fine. And I can sit on my rolly chair or stool and work around this. So there's that quick update. And then I'm going to push pause and get set up, get my paint ready, and start my base coat. So I will check back in here with you guys in just a few minutes. Okay, so I'm back and we're getting ready to get started on the painting. Now I've already done the front and that side with the prep. Even though it's been sanded and I've dusted it, I still am going to do a quick wipe down with the prep. It's going to remove a little bit more dust, that last of it. So I really have a good surface to start painting on. So I'm going to do this side real quick. I know you've watched me do it before, but you're going to see me do it again just so you can see it, especially if this is your first video with me. And I'm just going to do this real quick. And the other sides have already been done and are already drying. So normally I would use a scrubby, but since this has been sanded, I am just doing a quick dusting wipe because I know I don't have dirt, grime, oils to get off because all of that's been removed with the dusting. So, brand new, I'm kind of excited. I haven't even used them yet. It's the Zebra paintbrush newest set that they've released. This only comes in a set. The brushes are not individually sold. And the box says it's the smoothest set yet. So we'll see. I have not used them. I do have them here in the store. And it comes with a nice large brush for those larger dressers, a regular size 2.5 inch brush. This first one was 3 inches. And then this will be the one that I'm going to use today, the 2 inch. And it also has the short handle, which I like the short handle because I just go like that. It's a nice synthetic brush, which I prefer. Very soft, very full. So whenever I start a brush brand new, I kind of go like this a little bit to get any loose hair to fall out prior. Most brushes, I haven't found one yet that doesn't have a hair or two that will come out. So I just kind of, you know, like I would normally do before I start painting anyway. But usually this is after it's dried and sat like this up all night, and it's gotten a little crispy. So by the time I use it, it needs to be just fluffed. So there, I have gotten this out, and we are gonna see if it really is truly the smoothest yet. And again, Rethunk Junk. I'm using oyster as the base. And we are ready to get going. I'm gonna go ahead and start on this side. It's pretty dry since I did just such a little bit of paint on there actually. I'll peek in. You know what? It will probably be better if I move you over here so you can watch the painting. I probably should have paused again for this because now you get to see the ground. How's that? That should work. Now, you can see this is kind of a little bit of a reddish wood. If I was going to paint this white, I would seal it first. I would do a base coat of like Tough Top, our sealer, on top of this, just because I'd have the feeling that the tannins would come out and come through. But since I'm not leaving it the white, the off-white, a really light color, I'm not going to be worried about that. My white or my oyster is actually going to serve as my sealer for this. So if you've ever had a piece that gets blotchy, like the reddish color, a darker brown comes up and through, that's the tannins that are coming through. So now normally the zebra brushes that I use have a little bit of slant to the edge. This one is straight across. So that's a little different for me. But you can see how nice this first coat really goes on, even for a lighter color. And you can see, even though I go up and down and make sure I'm getting into those grains, I'm still gonna follow up with one stroke in one direction. So now my big decision is going to be, even though I only know parts of this color, the oyster, are gonna peek through, do I wanna do one or two coats? That's gonna be my big question. And I probably will do two, just because if I'm going to really heavily distress, I really want to make sure that this light color is visible and it doesn't go through to the wood overly easily. So I'll finish this section here while you're watching or while I'm recording, and then I will finish the rest of the first coat and turn you back on to record when we start the next color. And so far, That is a really nice brush. I don't see any brush strokes. It is the first coat, but we'll see, and you guys can be the judge of it when I'm finished, because of course I'll lead you through, hopefully with a nice close-up video and then some good close-up photos. And we'll see how much of this I get finished tonight, because Mike and I did leave for a little bit to go home and have dinner. And then he had a meeting, so we came back up. He's next door in his office, and I'm over here painting. So his meeting usually takes about an hour. So hopefully I will have 2 full coats of this oyster color on before I go home tonight. And then tomorrow I'll be able to start the green. So in the morning I'll tally up all my votes and we will see which came out on top and decide then if that's the color we go with. So there you have it. That's the first coat. I really should put this stand on wheels. How nice would that be? So here's the first coat that's drying. I like it. Very nice. And again, I don't see brush strokes, so, and that's without using a roller. That's using the new brush. So, I will talk to you guys when we start the next color. Okay, so you might be wondering why you're looking at this spot right here. Well, because I can be a lazy painter and I don't always tape or protect or block everything off. So yes, I have a paint drop from painting on my stained bottom. So I tried to wipe it off and all I did was smear it. So I'm going to attempt taking my prep and just putting a little bit directly on this paper towel. I did one quick spray right here on this corner, and we're gonna see if this will remove it or not. Because we all make mistakes, and sometimes we just need to figure it out. So I just sprayed 3 spritzes on this paper towel. And seeing if it's helping any. I don't think it really took that much off. It did take some, but not as much as I was hoping. So what that means for me is that I will now sand this spot and then re-stain. So I'll let that dry, and I'll do that when I'm finished painting my coats, or between the color coat and the oyster. And that way then I'll just tape all this off and protect it. So that way then when I do the insides of the sides, I won't run into that problem again. So, just so you can see that we all make mistakes and try and fix them along the way. Hi guys, welcome back. Here's our newest update. There are now 2 coats of Timeless Teal on the dresser. I covered the shelf this time, so that way then when I painted the insides of that drawer, no paint would get on the shelf. I still have not sanded that down and re-stained it, but my next step is going to be sanding and distressing the teal. So when I do that, that's when I will distress that shelf. So I will show you a little bit of distressing, and I will show you my fix of the shelf that I got paint on yesterday. And then the next step after that will be some dark glazing. Now, I don't know if I'll get to dark glazing tonight, but for sure I will be getting to the sanding. So here we go. I'm going to start my glaze. I'm going to be using a jar that's labeled Dark Glaze by Rethunk Junk. Rethunk Junk has since renamed this glaze. It is now Antique Brown Glaze. So if you come into the studio looking to buy the brown glaze, this is what you'll find on the shelf. This is from my personal stock that I've had for a while, because this will really go a long way and last a long time. Again, it's something you want to thoroughly shake, and to apply it, there's so many different ways. You can use a brush, you can use a towel, rag, a damp towel or rag, or have a dry and damp towel and rag process going. It depends on how much you're going to want to wipe back. A lot of the times when it comes to the glaze, for me, I will use an artist's brush, not a regular full-size paintbrush. So this way then I can get it right into the crevice where I want it and get it so it really just settles there, and I don't have to do a lot of wiping back. You could use a little bit larger brush. You could use a smaller brush, more with a precise point. And this is all I'm going to do. And it doesn't look all that dark or make that much of an impact, you think, but when it dries is when you really see it. So I am getting this a little bit wider up here in this corner, because of course that's where something would age naturally anyway. And I'm lightly blending it down, and I'm pulling it down. And you notice I have not reloaded my brush at all. Now when I come back and I want to wipe some of this off, I'm not going to wipe hard. I'm just lightly going over it. I want to remove a little bit, but I don't want to press too hard. But I want it to blend naturally in there. I would like to leave a little bit more in the crevice, so I dipped my brush again, and this time I'm going to dot it as I go along, so that way then all of my glaze isn't up at the top, and so I have a little thick spot to thin out as I go. And I'm just really working it in to that crevice. And then I'll bring it out here to this edge just a little bit. And I'm not worried that it's not consistent, because we all know if something is going to get stained or dirty, it's not going to do it all uniform. It will settle into that crease, but where it falls on the side here, it's not going to do that all uniform for us. So that's how I work that. And I hope you can kind of see that from there. I'll bring you in a little bit closer, hopefully, maybe. And maybe you can see that from there and see that difference. And as it dries, it will get just a little bit darker. And that's exactly what I want. So now I'm going to go over here and do this edge inside corner the same way. Let's see, can I get you? Let's see if this will work. You can see where I pull it straight down. I did not reload my brush. After each of those pulls, I'm bringing it over. And I'm going to pull it down again. Now I'm going to add a little bit more. And this, do the same thing that I did on the other side. Just kind of drop it. And lightly, I'm not pressing too hard. I don't want it to be a really harsh line. I want it to look like it's naturally just gotten dirty over the years. Yeah, can you believe that? I want it to look dirty. I want it to look weathered and worn and well loved. So if I wanted to, I could do the whole glaze over the entire piece. But I'm only going to do sections or segments of it. Maybe once I see it, I might change my mind, but right now that's my plan. So there you go. That was a quick little glimpse of how to work with the glaze. Hi, I'm back, and as you can see, it's the next day. The colors have gotten nice and rich where I added the glaze late last night before I went home. So now I'm to the point where it's time to start putting my top coats on. I'm going to do everything that is in Timeless Teal, flat top, because I just want a nice light sheen to it. And then on the wood up here and on this shelf, I'm going to do the Tough Top, which is a little bit shinier. So I'm going to get started on that, and the next time you see me, I will have my top coats finished. I've gotten all the hardware on the dresser that I've been working on. Now I'm down to the last little bit, the inside and possibly the outside of these drawers. They are really dirty and gross, so I'm going to do my normal clean, which is use my prep, and I'm going to spray more than what I normally would. I want this really, really wet. And I'm going to get my scrubby. Sorry for not being better prepared. And I'm just gonna scrub. And maybe these are just old and aren't as bad as I'm thinking, but they were just kind of looking a little gross to me. So what I want to do is clean them and then stain. Hi guys, here she is, all finished. I have her out on the studio floor. Gonna give you a little bit of a closer look, and this is great because now she's out here in natural daylight. Look at how nice the inside of the drawers clean up with just a little bit of the added dark walnut stain. How pretty her top. And like I had said I was going to do, I did a little bit of sanding and distressing to give her some character. And there's her bottom shelf. And again, a nice view from behind or in front. I just stepped back.